Welcome to Midnight Clues.
With Clara Monroe and Elias Gray. We pull apart the stories the world can't stop whispering about. Okay, let's dive in. August 2003. You've got this seemingly quiet pizza delivery in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Right.
And it just explodes, really, into one of the most bizarre, confounding criminal cases the FBI has ever dealt with.
Yeah, what's really striking is how something so, mundane, ordering pizza kicks off this totally unbelievable chain of events.
Okay, so let's unpack this. It's just, it's such a strange start. We have Brian Wells, right? 46 years old, delivering pizzas for Mamma Mia's Pizzeria.
Uh-huh.
And he gets this call, this order. 2 large sausage and pepperoni pizzas. But the address is weird.
Right, the address he couldn't quite make out, and his boss hands him the phone.
Exactly. That initial confusion, it just sets this weird tone right from the beginning. Something feels off.
Totally. It feels wrong from the get-go.
And the address, 8631 Peach Street, turns out it's not a house, not a business.
No, it's a TV transmission tower site, kind of isolated out in the woods.
Yeah. Then maybe, 2 hours later, the really unbelievable part happens.
Wells is suddenly on live TV.
Robbing a PNC bank. And he's got what looks like, it is a bomb strapped around his neck.
The sheer visual of that is just, it's surreal. A pizza delivery guy, now a bank robber with a live bomb.
Right.
It makes you question absolutely everything.
And Wells is claiming he's forced into it. He says, a group of people put this collar bomb on him, and they gave him this note. 9 pages, handwritten.
This note that supposedly details this whole elaborate scavenger hunt.
The only way, supposedly, to get the bomb off. And adding another layer of just weirdness, he's also got a cane.
Which wasn't just a cane, right? It was a disguised gun.
A homemade shotgun, yeah, disguised as a cane.
That scavenger hunt element is just, it's so perplexing. It suggests this, premeditation, this theatricality almost. It's not just a simple stick-up.
No.
And the hidden weapon, that just muddies the water even more. Was he a victim? Was he involved somehow? What were his intentions?
The note demanded a lot of money, too, like $250,000.
But he didn't get that much, did he?
No, the teller only gave him about $8,700. So he takes the money, follows the instructions in the note.
Right, goes to a McDonald's, finds another clue under a rock.
Yeah, but that's as far as he gets with the hunt. The police catch up to him pretty quickly.
They apprehend him in the parking lot of an eyeglass world.
You can almost picture it, can't you? This guy frantically trying to follow these bizarre instructions, knowing there's a bomb ticking.
Yeah, the desperation he must have felt, assuming his story was true.
Even when the police get him, he's insisting, I'm a hostage. Look at this thing around my neck.
Explaining the bomb, trying to make them understand.
But time's running out. The bomb squad. They didn't get there in time.
And the device just detonated.
Right there, killed him instantly.
Horrifying. And the bomb itself, it wasn't simple.
No, it was elaborate. It had dials, wires, this bulky lock.
2 pipe bombs inside, filled with smokeless powder. 2 kitchen timers.
A fake cell phone attached, and even these, misleading warning labels about how not to disarm it. Really sinister stuff.
The complexity there just raises huge questions. I mean, who could build something like that?
Exactly. Who had the know-how? And what was the real point?
So, legally, right off the bat, you're looking at bank robbery.
For sure. Use of a destructive device.
Conspiracy, definitely, if others were involved, which seemed likely.
And tragically, a homicide. Initially, though, the perception, the main argument, was that Wells was just a victim.
Yeah, an innocent guy forced into this nightmare. The whole scavenger hunt thing seemed to back that up, It felt like something someone else would cook up to control him.
It's the natural way to see it, isn't it? Someone with a bomb collar, following clues. It feels like a hostage situation. Almost like something from a dark movie plot.
Exactly. It reinforced that idea of external coercion.
But, and this is a big but, as the FBI dug deeper, the story started to change. A much darker, more twisted narrative began to emerge. One that really made everyone start asking, was Brian Wells really just an innocent pawn?
Yeah, what started to poke holes in that initial victim narrative?
Well, finding that cane gun in his car was pretty significant.
Right, that immediately makes you think, okay, wait a second. Why does a hostage need a hidden homemade shotgun?
Exactly. It just throws his whole story into question, doesn't it? His intentions, his role.
Definitely. And then there's the scavenger hunt itself.
Oh, yeah. So after Wells died, the investigators tried to follow the rest of the clues.
And what did they find?
Nothing. The final location was empty. It suggested the whole hunt was maybe aborted, or maybe it was always just a cruel hoax.
The FBI eventually decided the whole thing was fictitious, didn't they? And that the bomb was basically designed to go off if anyone tried to remove it anyway?
Yeah, which is just chilling. If the hunt was never meant to save him, it suggests a complete disregard for his life.
Right, whether he followed the instructions or not, it points to something much more sinister than just needing someone to rob a bank.
And there were other weird details, like the t-shirt Wells was wearing.
The guest clothing t-shirt.
Yeah.
That was odd. It wasn't his work uniform.
Investigators thought it was almost like a taunt. Really unsettling.
Definitely adds to the strangeness.
Then, just 3 days after Wells died, something else happened. His coworker from Mamma Mia's, Robert Pinetti.
He died of a drug overdose.
Yeah. Which, obviously raised eyebrows. Was their connection?
Nothing concrete was ever found to link Pinetti to the bombing, but the timing. It certainly added another layer of suspicion early on.
So things are already getting complicated. Then, about a month after the bombing, the case takes another incredibly bizarre turn.
This involves William Rothstein, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy who lived near the TV tower where the delivery was supposed to go?
That's him. He calls the police himself, says he has a body in his freezer.
Wow, just calls them.
Yeah. Turns out it's a man named James Roden. He'd been killed weeks earlier by his girlfriend.
And that girlfriend was Marjorie Deal Armstrong, who also happened to be Rothstein's ex-fiancée.
Exactly. Rothstein claims he was just, helping her hide the body.
Okay, so how does that suddenly connect back to the pizza bombing? It seems like a totally separate, albeit also very strange, crime.
Well, it brings these new people, Rothstein and Deal Armstrong, into the orbit of the investigation, and their circumstances were unusual.
Unusual is putting it mildly. Rothstein's place was described as extreme hoarding, right?
Completely, just filled with stuff. But crucially, amidst the chaos, police found power tools, welders, piles of old machinery.
Stuff that suggested he could maybe, possibly, build something complex.
Precisely. The possibility that he had the skills and the equipment to build that collar bomb suddenly became very real. One report explicitly said Rothstein had the mechanical know-how to build the ingenious bomb that killed Wells.
Okay, so Rothstein becomes a key figure. He
Yeah.
potentially have the means to make the bomb. That's a huge development.
Huge. Then, fast forward to 2005, another name pops up, Kenneth Barnes.
He was connected to Dale Armstrong, a fishing buddy involved in drugs.
Yeah, a crack dealer. And he starts talking. He points the finger squarely at Marjorie Deal Armstrong.
What did he claim?
He said she was the mastermind behind the whole pizza bombing plot, said she needed money.
Money for what?
To hire Barnes to kill her own father.
Good grief. That adds a whole other potential motive and another layer to this conspiracy, financial gain for Deal Armstrong.
But Barnes wasn't done. He later added another massive twist.
What was that?
He claimed Brian Wells wasn't just an innocent victim. He said Wells was actually in on the plan initially.
In on it? How?
Barnes claimed Wells agreed to participate, but under the belief that the bomb was fake.
A dummy bomb. And the scavenger hunt was just
a distraction for the police, yeah. A way to buy time or throw them off.
And Wells's motivation, according to Barnes.
Debt. Supposedly, Wells owed money, maybe related to a relationship with a sex worker named Jessica Hoopsick.
So Wells thought it was a fake robbery, a way to clear debts.
That's the story Barnes told. And that Wells only realized the bomb was real when he got to that TV tower.
Imagine that moment. The dawning horror that completely reframes Wells, if true, from maybe a willing participant under false pretenses to suddenly realizing he's trapped in something far deadlier.
Absolutely terrifying. Now, what about Dial Armstrong herself?
Initially, she denied everything, right? Said she wasn't involved.
Yep. But later, her story changed too. She started implicating Rothstein.
And crucially, she mentioned buying kitchen timers.
Yes. Kitchen timers specifically for the bomb. That was a detail the police hadn't released publicly.
That's pretty damning. Knowing the detail strongly suggests she was involved, even if she was trying to pin more blame on Rothstein.
She also mentioned Rothstein acting suspiciously with a blue van after Wells died. More connections being made.
And then eyewitnesses put them both near the payphone.
Right. Eyewitnesses later placed both Rothstein and Deal Armstrong at the payphone used to make that initial pizza order. The pieces were starting to fit together, painting a picture.
It sounds like a tangled mess of connections. And there was Rothstein's roommate, too.
Floyd Stockton, yeah. He was Rothstein's roommate when James Roden, the guy in the freezer, was killed.
And he corroborated Barnes's story about Wells.
He did. In exchange for immunity, he backed up the claim that Wells was part of the conspiracy initially.
And Jessica Hoopsick, the sex worker Wells, supposedly owed money.
She testified too, claimed Barnes asked her to find someone, basically a gopher, for a robbery.
And she suggested Wells.
Yeah, apparently thinking he was kind of a pushover, someone easily manipulated. She said she had no idea it involved a real deadly bomb.
Wow. It really sounds like almost everyone involved was operating with incomplete or deliberately false information from someone else. A web of deceit.
It's definitely a tangled web, leading to this incredibly tragic outcome.
So after all these twists, investigations, testimonies, where did it all land legally?
Well, William Rothstein, the guy with the potential bomb-making skills.
He died before facing charges, right? Cancer.
Yeah, died of lymphoma in 2004. He denied being involved in the bombing plot right up to the end.
His death must have left some big questions unanswered, especially about the bomb's construction.
No doubt. Then, in 2007, the district attorney, Mary Beth Buchanan, basically wrapped up the investigation officially.
And who did they name as conspirators?
They named Marjorie Dale Armstrong, Kenneth Barnes, the late William Rothstein, and Brian Wells himself.
Naming Wells as a conspirator, even though he died. That's significant.
It is. They identified Dale Armstrong as the mastermind behind it all.
So what happened to Barnes and Dale Armstrong?
Kenneth Barnes pleaded guilty. He was sentenced in 2008 to 45 years for conspiracy and firearms charges.
But that was reduced later.
Yeah, significantly reduced to 20 years because he cooperated with the investigation, providing a lot of that key testimony.
And Dale Armstrong.
She went to trial, was found guilty in 2011, sentenced to life in prison, plus another 30 years on top of that.
Did she ever admit guilt regarding Wells?
No. She maintained her innocence regarding Wells's death right up until she died in prison in 2017.
So you have Barnes cooperating, Dale Armstrong denying, Rothstein dead, and Wells officially named a conspirator, but his true level of involvement still debated.
Exactly. It just underscores the complexity, the conflicting evidence, the lingering uncertainties about everyone's exact role and motivation.
It really does remain just a chilling, perplexing case, doesn't it? A labyrinth of deceit, like you said, where the lines between victim and perpetrator just got so incredibly blurred.
Yeah, leaving behind this trail of unanswered questions and just a profound sense of tragic absurdity. It's hard to wrap your head around it all.
The sheer strangeness of the whole plot, the bomb, the scavenger hunt, the connections, combined with the tragic deaths. It ensures this case just continues to fascinate and disturb people.
So thinking about the takeaway, considering the bizarre motive suggested, the intricate, almost theatrical planning, you have to wonder. Right?
About the real goal.
Yeah. Was it really just about the money, that $8,100 they got, or even the $250,000 they wanted? Or was something else, something maybe far more disturbing at play here? Like maybe a desire just to orchestrate chaos, to create this enduring, baffling puzzle for everyone to try and figure out.
That's a really crucial question, isn't it? Did the, relatively mundane goal of getting money somehow mask a deeper, maybe more psychological motive? A desire to shock, confuse, and just leave this disturbing legacy? A puzzle with missing pieces.